being a mom, a wife, and at the same time a department head in the operations department. And we have Miss Natalie, who will be sharing insights on how she balances her
Yes, please.
life being on her own with Princess.
She's not on her own.
Yeah, yes, Princess, but on the different aspects. So Miss JC has family, Miss Natalie is not married with no kids, but different perspective, equally happy. Yeah. So both of them have different insights that I'm sure will help us and will benefit listening from them. Okay, so we prepared questions for you guys. So later on, once they're done, then we have the opportunity to ask these questions. Yeah?
Yes.
If you have questions in between that you think
career in hospitality. I had to write that down because I needed to really thoughtfully go through the process how I ended up in hospitality. When I was 12 years young, I was carrying newspapers in my neighborhood. I had to supply 350 houses with newspapers. And back then, I actually developed the skill of always pointing out, making a competition check which newspaper pays the biggest money in order to bring it. So there was newspapers that you got in euros, right? Because I'm from Germany. In euros, you would get, let's say, 50 euro for the newspaper to carry every single day 350 households. So you have to work 7 days per week for 50 euro. There was one newspaper you had to carry it once per week. Nobody ever wanted to work on that Sunday, and that was paying double the price than the newspaper would actually do. So everybody wanted to be carrying that newspaper. When I was 12 years, for 2 years I was doing that job. It was a hard job because it was, in the summer it was fun, in the winter it was not because it was very cold. I was on my bicycle, my father was helping me, he was dropping off the second loads, and I actually got my pocket money because I wanted to depend on my own money in the very early stage, not always asking mom and dad. When I was 14, I decided to progress my career from the newspaper, and I started selling something really, really amazing, which all of us love, which is ice cream.
wow.
I was an ice cream seller for 2 years because there they started paying me by hour, which was amazing. So I started doing a lot of hours. After 2 years, I decided to progress in my career and go from only owner of a Greek restaurant, which was actually in the reputation like our TripAdvisor number one in my city. I called the owner of that restaurant and I said, "Hi, my name is Natalie. I'm 16-year-old, but I don't look like, and I want to work with you." The lady said like, "No, I'm so sorry, you're very young, and we don't employ anybody below 25 because that's actually the target audience that we have." So I said like, no, you don't understand. You need to see me." The lady felt a little bit embarrassed that she didn't want to see me. She said, "Okay, why don't you pass by?" I said like, "Fantastic. You will be really happy to see me." I hung up the phone, I got ready, I asked my brother to drop me off. It was actually a 15-minute drive. And I arranged with because my parents didn't want me to do that job. So I arranged with my brother that he's gonna be the driver and I'm gonna share with him would get there. So I arrived in this restaurant, I actually spoke to the lady, the owner was a very fantastic, Anna Pechlevanoudis is her name, Greek lady, and she was owning this restaurant, the Greek restaurant. And she looked at me, she said like, "You really don't look like 16. And I said like, in my head, full of ideas, I don't sound like 16 either. Let us sit down, give me a coffee, I'll tell you more about it." So 5 minutes later, she said to me, "Okay, I'll give you a test trial. You come actually, you test trial yourself, I'll see how you're working in the restaurant." On my first day in the restaurant, I didn't know how to carry a tray. I didn't know how to ask the people what they want to. So what I did, basically, they sent me to the table, I had to take the order. And Rose would say like, "Oh, I would like to have this dish. I don't want to have the rice, I want to have the French rice." No, you have to take the rice, you have to take the dish. I recommend you to take a bite with it. I'll be back in 5 minutes, yeah? That's how I was actually serving. Nobody said the word, everybody paid, everybody came back, everybody was happy. Until at one point in time, another colleague who was older, she said to me, "I must say that you can accommodate sometimes the wish of ambitious, and I wanted to always learn and get to know something new." Then was the time I spent in this restaurant a lot of my years. When I was 21 only, I left that restaurant. I was working for the same family when I was 21. I moved to the UK. The reason why I moved to the UK, I finished my school, I did my A level, and I needed to start my university. When I started my university, I wanted to have 1 year break because I felt like 13 years of school is a lot of time, you know, like it's exhausting. You want to party, you want to have a good time, you want to change perspective, and you want to realize, do you really want to go into hotels, into restaurants? Do you need to learn what you want to do? So my English was terrible. I didn't understand anybody, nobody understood me, so I decided where to go in order to learn English is the UK, right? So I went to the UK, spent there a year. Immediately when I arrived in the UK in a really nice privately owned hotel, a Thurstone hotel, 120 rooms, I introduced myself and I said to the restaurant manager, I said like, very nice to meet you. I was actually hired as the commie waitress. No tables, no nothing. Actually just check in people, have good chats. I speak 5 languages. That's tailored for me, right? I'm like, okay, can I do that? Applied for a job in Spain. Chose an island where one hotel chain was Spanish and only Spanish visitors would come because that is for me the chance to learn Spanish eventually, right? And front office, obviously you have to speak a lot of Spanish then. I arrived in this hotel, I did front office operation, loved it, absolutely, because my working hours were 5 p.m. till 10 p.m.
That's your
During the day, I would be going to the beach, I was living in a penthouse, you know, like I could invite all my friends to dine with me. I stayed there for 6 months, went back to Europe, finished my degree. I finished the bachelor's degree in Europe in 2009, in December 2008 and 2009 was my last exam, and in 2009 January I moved then to the UAE. I was 23 years young. When I came to the UAE, I was an F&B management trainee in the Hilton Fujairah, which doesn't exist anymore. I came from a really nice villa at home where everything was made for me. Everything was available for me, and here I came. When looking out of my window, good-looking construction site people are looking into my house. Actually, I need to close the curtains in order for nobody to see me while I'm sleeping or actually going out of my bathroom. My bathroom, I didn't actually feel the ground of my bathroom because I had to wear all the time slippers because I couldn't actually literally touch the floor. It has been a great experience. I had the best time of my life in Fujairah happening. Because everybody came and wanted to see that German blonde girl. He said, okay, let's put her into the nightclub of nightlife that doesn't exist in Fujairah. Let's see what she's gonna do with that. They put me into this nightclub, in a nightlife that doesn't exist in Fujairah. When I arrived actually in the nightclub, I was crying. I went to the general manager, like, I don't want to do that. I really have all my friends coming every day to my outlet. They really will miss me there. He said, like, they still can come. But you need to work it out, and if you work it out, then we will make things work for you. So I said, okay. He asked me to do that. I said, you go, you eat your dinner in my restaurant, and you come and visit me in my new place, because I'm now looking after the nightclub. That's what people did. They went, I picked them up even sometimes from the restaurant, dropped them off at my beautiful nightlife, and that revenue of that nightclub from 700 dirhams went up to 30, 40, 50,000 on the weekend, so that the general manager had to change the furniture that I had inside because there was not enough tables and seats for people in order if they wanted to sit, so we actually needed to change that entire furniture. After some time, it was actually like 2 months down the line, the general manager invited me for a chat, and he said, like, we need to have a serious chat. I said, like, oh my God, what's happening? Like, I'm soon gonna go home anyways because I was supposed to do my master's degree after I finished my training because I had only the bachelor's. Then I went there and he said, like, we have a job for you, and I said, like, good for you. Certain things, and the things that I can afford today are definitely not the same things that I could afford 14 years ago. So everything has a step and everything has expensive. You want to live in a place where you have everything conveniently around you. So you need to end your family around, right? A very important point. Your family needs to be close to you. So all of these points I tackled out, and based on these points, who will be around me? What health condition I will be in? What kinds of sample? Who do I want to be surrounded with? Who are the people? Number one priority, right? You don't want to go through life alone. I painted out who will be with me until when I'm 20, when I'm 30, when I'm 40, when I'm 50, 60, 70, or 80. What is it that I will be having as my hobby? Obviously, my hobby with 20 is different than my hobby with 60. In which country do I want to live? You think then when you actually here right now, you're like, okay, UAE it is. But when you're 60, I went for, back then, if I realize now what they paid to me was peanuts, what usually a sales manager would make. But I took that job because it was a great opportunity. Sometimes you look into the bigger picture, don't look into the small picture. I looked into the bigger picture and I said, for the bigger picture, that's the right thing to do. My first job is the head of department. I was in charge of people. And I was actually arriving there. I was shocked because I didn't know anything about my job. Nothing, not one single bit. So that's why nowadays, in my current position, I make sure when we get new colleagues that we do the right onboarding. I know how difficult it is not having the right onboarding because I didn't know what my job was. I got a computer, I got my brain, I got my feet, I got my head, I got my arms, and that's all I had. And one thing I mastered very well, despite of me having no clue of my job in sales, one thing I knew how to do, which was presenting the property. I was working in a beautiful property. Those who love reading, Ian Fleming is a writer and he did write For Your Eyes Only, which was one of, I haven't finished studying it because now I'm doing what I haven't done 14 years ago, which was my master's degree. Yeah, my master's degree is something that I wanted to finish in 2009. I didn't get it. I got a better opportunity at that moment to grow my career, which I did. And this has been always in my mind that I said, like, I haven't finished what I wanted to do. I still need to do my master's. And my ambition is to also do my PhD. One day I want you guys to call me Dr. Natalie. How are you doing? Right? So that's actually the ambition that I have. Because you always have, it's one of the points that I wanted to highlight is about like, what is one of the questions Elaine asked me, like, what is actually what you studied, how you got the job. It's not what you study, it's your mindset that you're always wanting to grow. The growth mindset, those who helped me with my studies, actually they know the growth mindset is one of the most important parts. You always need to look for the next stage. And you never stop learning. Regardless how old you are, you never stop learning. In order for me to understand what I want in life, I drew my life until I'm 80. I want to have, it's not how many bathrooms you have, it's not how many outlets you have. It is about the story that people remember. And that's something that was my magic touch. I had no clue, and I swear to you guys, I had really no clue about my job. I didn't know how to do it. I learned everything from the scratch, but that one part was in my DNA. It was something that I inherited, and I continued growing when I was on property. Step by step, I learned all the other parts. I learned contracting, I learned segmentation, I learned how to do a budget, I learned how to manage a team. I did learn how to trade. 2009 was the crisis. People were leaving the country, people were leaving their homes, people were leaving their cars. Nobody had time in order to think about, do I take that job or not? People were taking any job. And I said to him, let me think about it. So that job that he offered me was head of department, sales manager, living in the Seychelles, cluster position, working in the Hilton. No, they're asking for it, so you better do it, right? Better tips then? Okay, fantastic. So I started doing it. After 1 year, Anna Peklevanudis had to go very often to Greece to visit her family because she had two wonderful grandchildren that were growing up. She needed somebody very reliable to look after her restaurant. I was in school and she asked me, 17-year-old, to look after her restaurant when she was away. So I had to open the restaurant. We had only lunch operation and we had evening operation. I had to open the restaurant. I had to manage all the paperwork. I had to manage all the purchases. I had to manage the talent. I had all my employees were. And when I was there, I decided F&B manager. Is that the ultimum that I can go for? And then I saw a gentleman always wearing a nice suit, having a good time, walking around the hotel. So who's this guy? Oh, the general manager. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Right? I mean, like, stay ambitious. So I decided I will be this gentleman walking around, or like female, walking around the hotel, and then I'm gonna, so what does it take me to get there? So that gentleman, that general manager, eventually changed my whole career perspective. He discovered, when I came to Fujairah, the restaurant that I was looking after as a trainee was outdoors in a beach area, producing approximately 1,000 per day. After I moved there, because all I have done, and that's that serious, I haven't done anything else but that. Being friendly, greeting people, chatting to people, making sure that tables are cleared, making sure to thank them for the fact that they came in, and friending them and making them come back.
And we leave this world with no clothes, no money.
Yeah. Jeannette, her name was actually Jeannie, we used to call her. Jeannette was her name. Like, really nice lady, and she was like, I'll let you know. So 2 months later, she lets me know, and she tells me, like, Natalie, there's a great opportunity. Do you want to be a chef d'oeuvre? So I was actually promoted in 2 months' time in that hotel, and I did fantastically well. Did my 1 year, came home and said, like, yes, hotels is what I want to do. I love the people inside. I love what I'm doing, and I'm gonna be one day a great F&B manager in a hotel. So that was the dream.